Hello, coders. So I've kind of been absent for the last several months, and I wanted to go into some detail as to why that is. The short of it is that I have been fighting with my main video editor now for the last several months. If you look on my channel, the last video I posted was a couple of months ago, and I barely, and I mean barely, was able to get that video edited. And then my video editor has just been a complete pain in the butt. So I run a Linux desktop, and if you're unfamiliar with running Linux, video editing in Linux is kind of it's a nightmare of its own. When things work, they work pretty well, but when they don't work, they just don't. So when I started this channel, I was looking at what video editors could I use on a Linux desktop, and the first thing I chose was DaVinci Resolve. The problem I had with DaVinci Resolve is that there was some problem with importing raw video to edit. I still had my laptop at that time. And so I found Kdenlive, and I was using Kdenlive. And the first few videos that I did, I don't think I had any editing problems whatsoever. The issue came in, Kdenlive would get an update, and it would break. And then a good chunk of the time, there was an update that would come out fairly soon after that would fix it. So I'm not doing a video a day, or sometimes even a video a week. So the whole thing didn't really bother me that much. But then I got my desktop, and what I went with was an AMD graphics card. And I thought, well, okay, I'm going to take a look at using DaVinci Resolve again. And the problem I had there is they don't really support an NVIDIA card unless you jump through a bunch of hoops. I guess you have to put on some of the proprietary drivers, this, that, and the other thing. And I said, well, Kdenlive is working. I don't really need to monkey with it, so I'll stick with Kdenlive. Well, then, I don't know, maybe 3-4 months ago, Kdenlive has just become unbearable. So when I open up the editor, there are times when I'll click the Edit tab and the entire application just freezes. I got to go into the Task Manager to kill it, Process Manager, and kill it. And this has been getting worse. So it got to the point where it was unusable, where it would freeze so often I just couldn't make a video. I had some raw footage collected, which I'm going to go back and redo because I've got some better ideas. But it's so frustrating not to be able to do any editing whatsoever. So I posted about this on KDE's forums because KDE, I'm using the KDE Plasma desktop environment. They also do Kdenlive. And I posted there about the problem back in March. And I didn't expect anybody to reply quickly, but I got a couple of people that replied, and one of them asked for some of the hardware details of my system, which was fine. I posted that, and then I didn't hear anything back. Now, I'm not impatient about this. I know that people are, when they're answering these posts, it's volunteer work. They're not being paid to do this. So I wasn't too upset about it, but then weeks went by, never heard anything. In fact, I think a whole month went by. And I said, okay, fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to an NVIDIA graphics card and possibly look at switching to DaVinci Resolve again. And you'll notice a whole common theme in this story is DaVinci Resolve, which, by the way, never worked out. So I went and I ordered a NVIDIA 4070 Ti Super. So I didn't go with the 4080, I went with the 4070 Ti Super. Now, compared to the tiny AMD Radeon card I had in there, this is a massive update. I thought, well, it's this isn't exactly a cheap upgrade, but for the long term, it'll be all right. It'll help with video encoding with OBS Studio, and it'll also help with video editing, rendering. So I got the card, got that installed, and then I was going to try Kdenlive again, which still froze. So it wasn't like it was the AMD card that was the issue, because now I have a whole new graphics card, still having problems, so I don't know what the whole issue is. So then I go to try good old DaVinci Resolve again. Now, what I didn't really realize at the time about DaVinci Resolve is that they only really support one Linux version, or one Linux distro, which, no big deal. I did find, see, I'm running Kubuntu, and I'm running the latest Kubuntu now, and I did find that someone has an installer out there that you can package up the DaVinci Resolve installer into a deb file. When I would try to run the regular DaVinci Resolve installer, it would not install. It would tell me it was missing packages. I guess this is a well-known problem in the newest Kubuntu versions. And so I found this guy has this packaging utility. So it'll turn the DaVinci Resolve installer into a deb file. And that worked. I was able to get DaVinci Resolve installed. However, it wouldn't run. So I'm stuck again. Searched around trying to figure out why I can't get this thing to run. Finally, I just threw up my hands and I said, okay, I'm sick of this. Kdenlive isn't working. DaVinci Resolve is installed, but it won't run. The regular installer won't even install it. It's only really supported on one Linux version, so I finally uninstalled all this stuff and I went online and I started looking for video editors for Linux. And fortunately, during that search, I found something called OpenShot. So OpenShot has been working perfectly. It does use my NVIDIA graphics card to do the rendering. I did some test rendering of footage I've had saved, and it cut the rendering time dramatically back. What used to take me 20-some minutes in Kdenlive only took me like 4 or 5 minutes in OpenShot. I was pretty impressed with it, and it's pretty simple to use. I mean, I liked Kdenlive because it wasn't difficult. It was fairly easy to use, and although from what I'm understanding, it has no ability to use your graphics card. So it's doing all of the rendering using your regular CPU. I didn't mind because, I'm not doing high quality video. I'm basically recording programming videos and then putting them up to YouTube. So I don't need massive frame rates, but it is nice now to have a halfway decent graphics card. And on top of it, the beauty part is that the rendering has been cut way down. So that just saves me some time. So if I record a video in the evening and I want to edit it, my editing is extremely simple. Now I can just upload it right up to YouTube and be done with it. But it goes to show how frustrating being on Linux and trying to do some of the basic tasks can be. Don't get me wrong, I'm a Linux fan. I do all of my home programming on Linux. I've got a couple of database servers running on Linux. I'm not knocking Linux at all. It's been great. But when you run into some of these issues that you can't solve, and then you post for help, and I got to tell you, one of my criticisms about Linux is the Linux communities for some of these groups can be very prickly. I remember when I first installed Fedora on my new desktop. Fedora has been a Linux distribution of choice for a long time. The problem is I can't run it anymore. And the reason I can't run it anymore is because I can't run VMware Workstation. And I run my virtual machines in VMware Workstation. Now, I switched to Kubuntu and everything's been working fine. And when I got myself into, I started a new position, a new job back in early February, and I didn't need my virtual machines for a while. So my work gave me a Windows laptop so I can do my day job. So I said, okay, I'm going to experiment and I'm going to put on the latest Fedora again. And I even actually tried Nobara, which is sort of a gaming distribution based on Fedora. And I thought, I'm going to give this a shot and let's see if I can get my VMware working again. Well, it didn't work right out of the box. I had the same problem, which is none of my virtual machines have any networking. And I posted on the Fedora community about the problem, and the community just jumped all over me right off the bat. You know, there's a guy out there named Matt who has a channel called the Linux Cast. And I love his channel because he's got really good Linux stuff on there. But one of the things he said about the Linux communities that I got a big bang out of is he said some of them can be rather prickly. And it's true. These guys jumped all over me. Number one, one of the first people said, well, why don't you try this instead of VMware? And I said, yeah, I've been down that road and I don't want to go down that road. It stinks. I just want to be able to run VMware Workstation. And I got lambasted for that. And then some of the other people were trying to suggest other options, and I'm like, I've been down there, done this. And then one guy decided to lambaste me for running proprietary software, which I'm not a 100% open source zealot here. I don't really care as much about the free and open source community as some people do, because I do run a lot of proprietary software, and when I want to run it, I want to run it. And this guy was all over me, so I finally gave up. I just said, okay, this is not clearly going to go anywhere. And I reloaded with Kubuntu again, and that's what I've been sticking with because, well, everything works. Well, except Kdenlive, which I'm now done with. But it's just a side effect when you have an all-volunteer army that is working on your software. When you run into a problem, sometimes it is a quick fix. I sometimes struggle with OBS Studio, which is what I use to record my screen and my audio. And I do have audio quality problems with OBS Studio from time to time. And I have read some forum posts where people have made some good suggestions. And I think my audio quality now is pretty decent. It's not as good as what I would get with Audacity, but I like being able to just record the audio, record my stream, edit it, and put it out there. I don't really want to fight with the recording process of having my audio and my video separate. Just not something that I want to do. But you're going to find that running a Linux desktop, it's just part of the whole adventure. And not that I'm angry about it or frustrated about it. It was just I haven't been able to edit a video now for several months. Now, if you're saying, well, you could have used your work laptop. Yeah, that's true. But I don't want to put a lot of software on my work laptop that's not specific to work. I just want to keep that to be a work laptop and then use my my big desktop for all this personal work, like my programming projects, the YouTube videos, that kind of thing. So anyway, Pretty soon I'm going to be putting out another video on signals and slots. There was a person who commented on one of my other videos and said, hey, could you please do a video more on signals and slots? And I came up with something that's pretty decent that I'm going to do fairly soon. And the other thing that we need to tackle, and it's going to be a longer video, is that doing threading in PySide 6. There was somebody who made that comment. They said, I'd really love if you could do a video on threading. And I think I've got a pretty decent example for that. So I can put that video together fairly soon. So anyway, that's been my fun for the last couple of months. I'm glad that I finally have this resolved and can edit video again. But I hope you are all doing well. And other than that, happy coding.